Can anyone allow me to share the screen from the team?
Hello, Ritika ma'am. Hi.
Hi, Rushi. I wanted the sharing option.
Yes, I'm trying to do it. Yes.
Yes.
Just give me a minute. I will do something.
Also, could you please change the setting to mute participants for the first half of the session? Okay.
Yes, I think everyone would be mute when they join. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we will wait for 5 minutes to see all the other participants are joining or not. Meanwhile, let us start introducing ourselves. So my name is Ritika. So, and I'm from Calcutta, West Bengal. Where are you guys from? Can you put it in the chat box so that I know the demographics? No responses. Hi Akshara, hi Deflin. Where are you guys from? I wanted to know the place. Okay, I have people from Mumbai. So we got Mumbai, we got Calcutta, West Bengal. Where else? Andhra Pradesh. Okay, great. Pratyusha is from Andhra Pradesh. Hi Pratyusha. Rathore is from Pune. Okay, we have a pretty diverse population today. Pretty interesting. Okay, Akshara is from Pune as well. So we got west, we got south, we got east. Anyone from north? Anyone from northern side of the country? No one? Punjab. Okay, I got Punjab as well. Hi Siddhant. Great. So we have people from all parts of the country. So we will wait for 2 more minutes. Any other responses? Any other query? What are we going to do in today's class? No queries? Great. So I guess you all know what are we going to do. It's presentation skills. What about the other responses? I can see 15 people here, but I haven't received 15 responses. So why do you guys want to play anonymous today? Let us all talk. Yeah. Okay. iPhone is from Pune. iPhone, what's your name? Nilesh. Okay. Hi, Nilesh. Great. You're from Pune. What about the rest? Okay. Manash is from Bangalore. Even right now, I'm residing in Bangalore. So, hi, Manash. Okay. So, we will start now. Hi, everyone. I will introduce myself officially at the moment. Yes, we are doing presentation skills, Akshara. Great. Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Ritika Bhaumik, and I've been working with more than 150 corporate executives, working professionals, and students since 3 years with personality development and appropriate cultural specific paralinguistics, which is basically body language. And also spoken English and corporate soft skill trainings I do professionally. I'm trained by British Council, Kolkata, and have done multiple industry recognized certifications. Perhaps that's why you will find a lot of different kinds of combination in my modules, borrowing from multiple approaches to give you an immediate success in effective communication. Now, why do you think presentation skills are important, especially in the pandemic world? Can I get some responses? Why do you think presentation skills are important? Why do we need to learn presentation skills? Can I quickly get some responses? Why do you think presentation skills are important? Okay. Someone said, can you hear me? I believe others can hear me. So, the one who is having problem with hearing, can you just log out and again log in? I hope that will work. To express our feelings, to make it effective and interactive, to express knowledge, virtual learning. Yes, amazing, great responses. Exactly in this post industrial world where everything is commercialized, even to pitch our basic ideas, you have to communicate well and present it well in order to get your work done. Now, basically, we have to sell our ideas as well in today's world. Yes, Manas, you can put your query in the chat box. I will address.
I just wanted to add one point, why presentation skills are important. The reason being, presentation skills in today's era is important because it helps in creating a brand image of a person. So the brand persona, that's the reason why presentation skills are really important, not only in
Exactly.
virtual era, but also in the like classroom sessions or whatever, wherever it is. Like it creates a persona of yours, a
Yes,
brand of
exactly.
yours.
Exactly, Manas. And also in today's world, taking from Manas's point, we all are trying to impress, or we are all are trying to, present ourselves to the world. And that's why presentation skills are very important. If you even want to take a sick leave, you have to reason out your problems and articulate it well. Else no matter how genuine your reason is, you might not get the sick leave granted for ineffective presentation. So everything that we do, we are trying to sell our ideas, or we are trying to convince people to believe in what we are trying to say. So it is really important in all aspects of life. Now pandemic has just heightened the need of this, as your communication now has become more than important because of remote work culture, online learning, and the way uh, we can create a positive impression is only through effective communication now, because everything is online mode. There is also a common misconception that presentation skills are only required for working professionals or working executives, and you need to know how to make a good PPT. But that's not the case. You can present anything and talk about anything, be it a survey report, be it an image analysis, or even to sell your ideas to the world, right? So, in today's free session, we will be seeing what are the basic attention grabbers, how do you grab attention of people, paralinguistics and basic body language for presentation, and basic steps of delivering an effective presentation. So, I'm really excited and looking forward to this class, and I am sure you all are. So, any responses? What are attention grabbers? We will do all of that now in details. So let's move on. Okay. Now, how do we capture the attention of our audience? First would be know your audience well. Knowing your audience is the first step where you have to analyze the intellect level of your audience to choose appropriate vocabulary and also the topic in order to make it relatable. If you're dealing with, let's say, your subordinates, you cannot possibly use complex terminologies. It will only confuse your audience rather than making them understand. So it is very important to know the type of group you're dealing with uh, in a presentation, and because our motive is to make them understand and make them believe, and not deliver a nice pretty tech talk, right, for presentation. So make sure that you know your audience and you know how to deal with them and what language they understand the most. Okay. Moving on, we come to the next point, where these are all general guidelines and attention grabbers. This will help you to actually capture the attention of people. So, second point would be focus on one idea or perspective and connect it to the larger issue for more relevance. Now, I'll explain it to you now. It is, imperative to start with a very basic idea and then connect it with the larger issue. For example, let's say if you're concerned about your colleagues playing PUBG all the time around you, right? I'm sorry for all the PUBG fans, but yes, this has become a common work culture problem where all people are really addicted to playing PUBG. Now, if you have to report that problem, you can start with that and relate this issue with less work productivity, distraction at workplace, increased work inefficiency in the long run, to arouse emotions in your audience, or to arouse or convince the person you are actually reporting it to. Same way, let's say if you have received any sexist comment by a colleague and you are not very comfortable with that kind of comment, Relate this issue with your low self esteem, relate this issue with harassment of women, relate this issue with, encourage discrimination at workplace where you have to take sexist comments as a joke, which you are not comfortable with. I'm sorry. So while reporting it to your boss, when you relate it to the larger issue, start from the small issue and relate it to the larger issue. Trust me, it always works out because you're trying to, convince and play at an emotional level of people that I am not going to take this kind of sexist comment, not only because it is uncomfortable for me, but it is related to encourage discrimination at workplace. It is related to my low self-esteem. It is related to a really larger cause, right? So when you relate your ideas to larger issues, it becomes more convincing, and you directly uh, touch upon the emotional seat of a person, and that is really important when you're trying to talk to influence, right? So second point would be focus on one idea and then move it to the larger idea. Keep pointers. Number three, keep pointers and use linking words. Now, use of connecting words are very, very important to connect your ideas, else you will lose your audience. As simple as that. Now, if I tell you a story that yesterday I went to the mall, I ate good food, and then I ate a pie, and then I was watching a movie, and then I came back home, and then I slept. If I tell you in a story form, you were more likely to listen to it, but you will forget it because I just shared a story. It's not very important. But if, as a presenter, my objective is to make you people understand what I did yesterday, I have to use connecting words. So I will say, firstly, guys, I went to the mall. Secondly, I ate a pie. Thirdly, I watched Two and a Half Men before sleeping. The moment I do firstly, secondly, and thirdly, it becomes sequence in your brain, and you register it in that way. Firstly, Ritika did this. Secondly, Ritika did this. Thirdly, Ritika did this. And you remember 3 points. So our objective is to make communication more easy, right? So why would you complicate it and make it in a story form where people will enjoy your story but not remember anything? So use connecting words. You can get it from any grammar book, you will get it online, or you can contact me. I will send you the PDFs, but use connecting words while you're talking in paragraphs in order to connect your thoughts. Now, my job will be done as a speaker the moment you remember 3 points, what all I did yesterday. But if I tell you in a story form, you will never remember. And trust me, we don't remember stories. We just listen and forget. Now, moving on, the next point would be shorten numbers. Now, why we need to shorten numbers or use percentages? Because we have to work with the assumption that not everyone is good at math. Trust me, even me, um, numbers really, really confuse me, and I cannot comprehend the message. If you talk to me in numbers, I will just listen to it, but I cannot comprehend anything. Since hence we must always, try to shorten numbers or use percentages, because we have to also understand not everyone is good with math. Also, the second point would be this helps us avoid unnecessary backlash. When you are presenting, you know there will be people criticizing you, and you wouldn't want to waste your time on unnecessary rebuttals that, Ritika, it was not zero point 0.7, but it was 0.624, right? You don't want to get into that kind of unnecessary argument. So, in order to avoid those things, you must always use percentages or approximate number. Okay, I have got. Okay, Akshara. So we will move on. I just lost my chain of thought. Okay. So use quotations or bring references. Now, why this is important is you must always have a very thorough literature review. By literature review, I mean a thorough research. Why? Um, know the fact that no matter how amazing or kick-ass your idea is, authorities will always try to undermine your ideas due to your age, or let's say your experience, or people just want to abuse their power. So they will not take your idea very seriously if you are especially very young and starting your career now. So always have a thorough literature review. Now, for example, if you're in marketing, um, know few companies that have used this idea, or any theory that supports your idea. Let's say if I say education is important, you might not take me seriously. You might say that, okay, how many PhDs do you have? Or how many books have you written to actually say that education is important? But the moment I say that Bill Gates also says education is important, you will take my word seriously, not because of me or my expertise, but because I brought about a reference of Bill Gates. And Bill Gates is really successful, so you know that, okay, if Bill Gates is saying education is important, I should take it seriously. So, no matter how amazing your ideas are, always have a backup of an influential person, because that will help you to support your argument that it's not only me, but there are famous people actually thinking about it, and we think along the same lines. So why don't you implement my idea in the company, or in the group project, or in the university, anything. But always have proper lit review with you, so that you show that I'm not just talking out of whim, but I'm talking with proper research evidence. Now we move on to the next part. Allow me a moment. Yes. So the next part would be avoid contractions. Now, avoid using can't, won't, ain't, um, shan't. Although millennials are too used to using this because of WhatsApp and everything, but use complete words in a professional space. You will not save a lot of time by using contractions, but definitely build a very casual and informal image of yourself. And I'm sure we all want to be differently at work, right? So just take the pain of using complete words. It will give you a more formal outlook instead of saying, I ain't gonna do it. I am not gonna do it. It will not take a lot of your time, but it will help you to create a very positive image at work. So whenever you're working, all these millennial terminologies don't really work out. We have to wait for 10 more years to actually get it into workspace. Until and unless you are dealing with Americans, Americans love informal communication. Okay. Now the next would be, don't kneecap your sentences using um, like words like just, maybe, sort of, etc. Avoid using these modifiers like, I sort of feel this is not right, or maybe we should do this. Instead, say, I feel this is not right. I believe we should do this. The moment you avoid using these kind of modifiers, because these modifiers soften your attitude and undermines your presentation, and that is the last thing you would want to do, that you're not really confident. So why to create that impression that I'm not really confident, maybe we should do it, or I sort of feel this is right? Why to use these kind of words which will actually undermine your presentation? So be assertive, say, I believe this is wrong, or I know this is wrong, right? Because it shows how confident you are about the topic. And in a presentation where you are having a live audience, people want to see your confidence in order to believe in you. So don't kneecap your sentences. The next point would be less text and more visuals. Visuals like images, videos, bar, graph, statistics, and so on. Now, this is quite self explanatory. We have been taught this in schools and colleges as well. But the more you your presentation is basically visually appealing, the more our amygdala responds. Our amygdala is basically the emotional seat of our brain, right? It is situated in this area, and the more you use visually appealing PPTs, or anything that has a visual appeal, it responds, our brain amygdala responds at an emotional level. And it is always better to connect with your audience at an emotional level. Okay, just allow me a moment. Okay. Now, to connect with our audience at an emotional level, we have to make it very visually appealing. Now, this is also a psychology strategy that we use to connect with our audience, or to tell the audience that this is, you should feel, this is something you should feel from your heart and not from your brain, and then your work is done. So these are the general attention grabbers and guidelines. Any confusion, any doubts? You can put it in the chat box, or if you want to unmute yourself, you can also do that. Manush has his hands raised. Any doubts, or shall we
No,
move
I
on?
think I raised it for the previous time. I'm just lowering.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, can I get any yes, no? Shall we move on? You can just put a thumbs up or anything so that I know it's clear. How not to get affected by amygdala. Um, Amygdala is always working. We are always emotional. We are human beings. Now, if you don't want to get affected by amygdala, either don't pay attention to any visual properties, because the more we see, the more we feel, right? So you can actually do that. And why would you not want to feel, Toko? That's what makes us human beings, because we have amygdala, right? About the recording, you have to ask the team. I'm not really aware of that, but I will let you know. Okay, contractions, meaning contractions are basically um, don't for do not. I do not want to go there. You say I don't want to go there. Go there. I shall not be present for your birthday party. I shan't be present for your birthday party. So millennials use it actually to save time, but in your workspace you cannot use contractions. Like, you have to use full words. I cannot be helping you. I do not want to go there. I shall not meet you, instead of contractions. I hope that answers your questions. Okay, any more query, or shall we
Yeah,
move on?
Ritika, I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned in one of the pointers, like when you say the stories, people forget a lot. But is it something that stories should not be a part of the presentation, or we can relate the story? I mean, we can narrate our story just to make the topic to resonate with the participants. So I just got a little confused over that.
Okay.
So
Manas, so stories are really important to actually capture audience's attention. However, if you are telling the entire presentation in a story format, then your audience will not remember. So the main points has to be in pointers. But if you want to play along with the audience by sharing a short anecdote, or if you want to play along with a punchline, that you can do, of course. But your main content is what I'm saying. You cannot make it in a story form. The moment you make your entire content in a story form, your audience will listen to it, have fun, enjoy, but not internalize the content. So for
yeah,
that, use connective.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Writika, can you explain certain numbers? Use the percentage like
Yes, so the percentage would be, so for example, if you have numbers like 2 lakhs 5,422 rupees, right? So the people who are not really good with numbers, they will really get confused. And also, if you are dealing with numbers, you have to be extremely specific. And that's why, to avoid backlashes, for example, if it's 5 lakhs 4,288, rupees, right? In case you say 87 rupees, people will target you for that. How dare you say that? How could you say 87 and not 88? You are just messing up with the numbers. So to avoid all those kind of problems at the rebuttal session, we use approximate numbers. So you can say 8 lakhs and 5,000 rupees instead of specificity, or just use percentages. That is better to deal with people who are not good with numbers and also save yourself from unnecessary backlash. Does that answer
Vartika,
your question?
yeah. One question again, Vartika, like women in working in my colleagues from my company. So how can explain you?
You
Like
are working for some.
work with
Okay.
women, your females members in my company. How can judge? How can see? How can view and explain it? Anybody?
How can you explain numbers to anybody? Is that your question, Mukesh?
Yeah.
Okay, so you cannot really explain numbers to the people who are not good with numbers. So I have a PhD, but I don't understand numbers at all. So if you speak to me in numbers, I will not get it. So the best way of dealing with people like me would be actually use approximate numbers like 70% or 80% of the people, or use graphs to make them understand visually that this is actually the difference, because numbers, not everyone gets it, and you're blessed if you really understand numbers.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so any other query or do we move on? Can I get a thumbs up from at least 5 6 people to know that we can move on? Okay, great. Okay, Toko, that is a very interesting question. Won't that be manipulating? Yes, that is a kind of manipulation, but we are all living in an industrial world. We all are trying to sell our ideas. Even if you're trying to do charity, you have to pitch your ideas to other NGOs, right? So it is, sadly, the world has become really globalized and commercialized. So yes, manipulation works, but you need to communicate well, and your intentions must be nice. So that's all. But yes, this kind of communication is also done by politicians, and they, most of their intentions are not really good. But if you are using manipulative or persuasive communication to bring about a change, then please go for it. If you're trying to influence people to not kill animals, if you're trying to manipulate people to say that save the environment, go for it. Okay, so we move on. Now, now we will learn stepwise how to deliver an impactful presentation. Just know that a presentation is much more than making a nice PPT or a pretty PPT. It demands your personality and your presence in a room, right? So, and you cannot possibly hire somebody else's personality. So it is really important how you carry yourself and how you are delivering your thoughts. What is more important in presentation skills, slides, or speaking skills? Well, everything is very important in presentation, starting from your body language to how you are speaking, and at the same time, your slides. But again, slides would be like say 20 to 30% of importance, but how you are presenting is it is more important. You can just take a picture and also present it in a beautiful way, and you can have beautiful slides but not being able to present it. So it actually depends a proper balance of all. Okay, now I will keep aside the questions. We will be doing step by step guidelines on how to deliver a proper presentation, and after that I will attend all the questions, because the last thing I want to do is break my chain of thoughts. All right, so the first step would be, What is more important thing in an interview? In an interview, Arman, you do not really have to prepare a presentation about yourself. You have to speak. So only your body language and your speaking skills matters in an interview, not your presentation or slides or anything which requires your creative approach. Okay, let's move on. Now we are going to do the first step, that is the beginning of a presentation. How do you begin a successful presentation? Now, only reveal as much as it is relevant to the topic. First point, if somebody asks you your name, you do not reveal your family's details to them, right? So don't open the entire Pandora box in the very beginning. It might get very overwhelming to your audience, so much of information, right? Instead, just introduce the topic, your purpose of presentation, and it's important. That's it. Its importance, your purpose, why you are actually presenting it, and introduce the topic. What are you going to talk about, or what is it that you're talking about? Don't reveal a lot of information, because when you give out a lot of information, people will be like, oh my god, this is too much to take, I don't want to pay attention, right? The moment you lose your attention and lose your audience's attention, and distraction is really easy these days, right? WhatsApp, Instagram, everything is there on your phone. So once you get your audience distracted, it's very hard to come bring them back. So give them information at a level wise. Don't give them too much information in the very beginning. Second would be establish your credibility. Now, if I had come today without talking about my credentials, you wouldn't trust me with the course, right? I spoke about my certifications, I spoke about my experience, and only then I started the module so that you could trust me with the course. Similarly, we do not take health advices from anyone except a doctor because of the trust factor, right? Um, so always establish a trust. Um, Before starting a presentation, who are you? um, why are you even talking about it? So you can say, well, I have been researching on this topic for a very long time. Or you can say, well, I have worked in this department for a very long time, and that's why I have this concern to raise. Or you can just simply say that my manager has trusted me to present it in front of you. Anything, any information that will allow the audience to trust you or to take your words seriously. If you just randomly come and start presenting, people will be like, who are you and why are you talking about it, right? If you can't do that, you will definitely lose their attention. Now the next part would be introduce the topic. Only introduce the topic, but do not go in details. The most important part is, you here you can use punchlines, here you can use anecdotes, but just a headline. In newspaper also, first we read the headline and only then we read the article. We do not straight away start reading the article. So this would be actually a heads up or a warm up session for your audience, that this is what we are going to talk about today. So here you can use ice breaking activities to actually interact with your audience, or you can share a story, or you can share any jokes, anything to keep it light. So that's how we deal with the beginning part. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay. Now, the phrases that you can use for beginning would be, I want to shift your focus on this. Or, first and foremost, I'd like to start with this. Or, first, let's start with this in mind. And so on. So, these are the phrases that would really help you, firstly, to maintain a professional outlook. And secondly, to tell your audience that, okay, now we are going to start with this, right? Or else it will become difficult for your audience to know where you started. Let's say you were doing ice breaking session, right? And after that you just shared a casual short anecdote, and after that you are actually making a soft shift to your topic. So this will help your audience to know that, okay, now the main topic has started. And this is very important to actually get your audience that, okay, now information time, pay more attention. So this also works at a psychological level. So these are the phrases which will really help you to connect with your audience more. Let's move on. Okay, now the middle part. Firstly, engage with audience. How do we engage with audience? Use rhetorical questions like, "Hey, do you guys feel the same thing?" Or "Don't you agree with me?" Or "Do you feel the same?" When you ask these kind of questions where the responses are limited, right? People will just raise their hands that yes, I agree, or people will just nod. No communication is taking place, but this will ensure you that your audience is paying attention to you, and also make the audience know that you are not just a solo speaker. You are trying to involve your audience always to talk to them, right? Because nobody wants a boring lecturer at work who'll just keep talking and others have to take notes and go out of the room, right? So use questions, rhetorical questions, where you will just get yes no answers. Do not ask descriptive questions like what do you think about it. The moment you ask these kind of questions, people will actually start telling you a story, and you do not have time to listen to stories, right? You will have very limited time. So use rhetorical questions like yes, no, nod your head, raise your hand, things like that, to keep the audience engaged with you, and you also know that audience is not getting bored. They are with you. Now, the second point would be in the middle part, we list out all our reasons with rationale, which is statistics, data, scientific evidence, and so on. This is really important as you put all your justifications and rationale here. So let's say you're talking about women empowerment, right? And in the beginning, you have to talk about what is women empowerment and what is basically what does it mean. But in the middle part, you have to give out all the reasons why women power empowerment is important. I'm sorry. So you have to talk about why is it important and list out all your reasons over there in the middle part. Do not start it in the beginning itself that I feel women empowerment is important because of this, this, this. Then it will get too overwhelming for people. First, you start what is women empowerment, and in the middle part, you have to list out all your reasons. Now, thirdly, please use formal language. I know it; these things are not really taught in Indian schools or universities. There is no importance of formal language, but apart from USA, there is no country which tolerates informal language in a workspace. In India, also many companies are very strict about how you are communicating, especially Cisco. So if you're not very good at formal communication, because again, we have to understand we are in India, no schools take it seriously, no colleges take it seriously and teach. So you can replace certain informal words to sound at least semi formal. If not properly formal, you can at least try to sound semi formal. So, what are the basic words that you can replace? There are many, but I have chosen these. But can be easily replaced by however. Also, additionally. So, you do not use a word also, you use additionally. Plus or also, you can also use moreover. Anyways, nevertheless, I think I will do that. Instead of that, use in my opinion or I personally believe. That is more formal. As soon as possible, it although it is taught in India that it is a form of formal communication, it is not. At your earliest convenience is the most formal way of telling people as soon as possible. Okay, I will attend all the questions after 5 minutes. Let's just get to conclusion. Okay, moving on, we come to conclusion, concluding all points. So one would be one liners. You have to give one liners of all your points. Now here we conclude our major points in no more than one or two sentences as a kind of revision. Now remember, you are not a motivational speaker here, but you're communicating to make people understand and remember certain points. Maybe you're presenting to make people work for the next 6 months, or you're discussing budget issues of your company, or anything. You want people to remember what you're trying to say. So you have to ensure that nobody misses out any point and everybody is on the same page. How do you ensure? Towards the conclusion, you give one or two liners for each paragraph, or for each point, you use one liner. Second point would be personal reflection. Now, after listing all your reasons in the middle part, this is the time for your personal feedback. Now, refrain from giving your personal judgment while you are presenting the facts in the middle part. Why? It will undervalue your research skills by giving your audience the impression that perhaps you just made up all the research evidence to suit your personal motive or to suit your personal opinion. So, in the middle part, you only talk about science, you only talk about facts, you only talk about rationality and logic. In the conclusion, you give your personal feedback that considering all the facts, or understanding everything, I still believe women empowerment is important. Or considering all the facts, I believe women should be given more benefits, right? So you do not add any personal contribution in the middle, only in the conclusion part. Now, you use the conclusion part to, let's say, talk about what you feel personally, good or bad, after considering the entire research evidence. Do not use your personal judgment in the research evidence. It messes up with the rationality of people. People will be like, oh my god, you feel it, and that's why you are providing all those evidences to suit what you feel. So always provide scientific evidence, and towards the conclusion, you say whether you find it good or whether you find the thing bad. The last point would be resolution or any outcome or realization. Now we know the problem. We know whether it's good or bad because you have told us already. Finally, you provide certain suggestions or outcome or any realization. So, for example, you can say, if you're talking about women empowerment issue, you can talk about, for example, considering all the data that I mentioned above, I feel we should work with women sanitation, or I feel that we have not been doing enough for our female employees, or we must take some amends, or we should make some changes in the company policy for women's safety. So you have to provide some outcome or realization or resolution. Why did you do so much of work? Why did you exactly take the pain of doing so much research and actually thinking about any problem, if you don't have any possible resolution, or if you don't have any possible suggestion, right? It all goes in vain. So the in conclusion, firstly, we provide one liners of all the points that we have covered. We include our personal reflection, that is basically whether you find it good or bad. And the last point would be your suggestion to solve the problem, right? So those are the things that is important. Now, how can you summarize? These are the phrases that you can use in order to summarize. To summarize, I feel women empowerment is important. In conclusion, I feel women empowerment is important. To give you an overview, I feel women empowerment is important, and so on. So this is how we actually end with our conclusion. Now, the last stage before I take up certain questions would be rebuttal round. Now, rebuttal, please remember, is very, very important. Why? This is the firstly the last stage of your presentation, and here people will be challenging you on the basis of your thoughts. And people, okay, I'll just check the responses. Okay, I will attend to all the concerns right after the presentation. Now, the first part would be um, the last part. I'm sorry, I again lost my chain of thoughts. Yes, so rebuttal round. here people will be challenging you on your thoughts and your ideas, and people might get quite aggressive. So you have to be very patient and assertive in rebuttal round. Rebuttal round is basically after your presentation where you open yourself to your audience that please ask me questions and I will resolve your doubts. Now, it is not as polite and sophisticated as we are having right now, because again, we are not colleagues. But when you are dealing with your colleagues, you might find them really aggressive and out there, trying to prove you wrong or trying to criticize you. So people might even argue that no, you are wrong, the sky is red in color, it is not blue, it is red in color. But you cannot afford to be argumentative, as it will divert you from your topic and it will divert your mind. Even if they are saying the sky is red, you can say yes, I accept your point. I will give it a thought. Right. So that's how you handle it diplomatically. You do not start fighting with people who criticize you, but you handle it very diplomatically. The last thing you would want to do is make enemies at your workspace, right? So firstly, be polite and smile. Always have a smile with you. Second, invite people to ask you questions. Open yourself to the audience that please ask me questions. The moment you open yourself, you become more approachable. That okay, if I have doubt, Ritika might attend my concerns, right? But if I don't say that, guys, ask me questions, you might say, oh, will Ritika get offended? And you will be in that constant dilemma whether to ask the question or not. So as a speaker, you should always open yourself to your audience. Now, don't waste more than 2 to 3 minutes attending per question, because you wouldn't want to spend all your time only to one person, right? And arguments keep on escalating. So if you keep arguing with a person, the person will never stop and you will lose out all your time, which you could have given it to, let's say, 10 other people in the audience. So always limit your responses to 2 to 3 minutes. And if a person is going really aggressive and argumentative, you can just say, yes, I understand, I respect your point, I will think about it, and brush it off right there. Have a discussion, not an argument. That is something you should never try to have, because you cannot change how people think. If you're saying women empowerment is important, if a person is saying no, men's empowerment is important, you cannot keep fighting, right? Nobody will come to a consensus. So you can say, yes, sir, I respect your point. Men's empowerment is equally important, but I support women, and brush that matter immediately. Now, the last point would be always thank the person for questioning. Even if the person is criticizing you, you must thank the person. Why? Because the person invested his or her time to listen to you. And who does that anyway? We don't have time. So even if an hour to listen to what you are saying and then I'm criticizing you, you should actually appreciate me. So how do you handle it? You can say, well, thank you for your question, or that's a really nice question. So always validate your audience that, well, really thoughtful question, or thank you so much for your question, or anything, but thank your audience, right? Now, the last part, um, you have to learn how to handle it diplomatically. So you can say, well, sir or ma'am, I got your point, I will think about it, instead of saying, no sir, you are wrong and I'm right. The moment you get into that zone, you cannot come back, you cannot unfight things which you are fighting. So never get into the fighting zone. Always say, yes, I respect your point, I will take it into consideration. When you do this, you are under no obligation of listening to that person, because you did not say, sir, I will definitely follow what you have said. You said, sir, I will think about it, right? So it puts you under no obligation in following that person's instructions. And second, the person has nothing to fight with you, because you have already said you will think about it. What else can he or she fight for, right? So it's a win-win situation for you. What are the phrases which you can use to diplomatically handle rebuttals. Now, one would be phrases. So you can say, in my point of view, I feel women empowerment is important. Or you can say, in my experience, I've seen women are not treated right. Or I personally believe that women empowerment is this. I have not said that this is universal truth, but I'm saying I personally believe. So you cannot fight with me or my thoughts, right? So these are the ways you can diplomatically handle that. I have never said that women are suffering all around the world, but I personally believe that women empowerment is important, right? The moment you take it upon yourself, nobody can challenge you because you are not stating an universal truth. You are stating what you feel, and nobody can challenge you for what you feel, right? Um, if you're agreeing with someone, you can say, I couldn't agree with you more. Or if you are disagreeing with people, you do not say, hey, I disagree with you. You are completely wrong. You are nonsense. You are stupid. You are idiotic. You do not say things like that, but you say it with respect and diplomacy. You say, I would urge you to think differently, sir, or I request you to think a little differently because you're not seeing things from my perspective. Or you can say, I completely understand what you're saying, sir, but this is not the case. Let me show you the reports. Right. So you handle it in a very diplomatic manner. Now we move on. Okay, now too much of lecture. I believe we will be needing some extra time. I hope you all are with me and not getting lost. I will keep interactive sessions also in between, right after this module. Okay. Now, since too much of lecture, let's move on to our last part of this module, that is body language and paralinguistics. Now, body language and paralinguistics are extremely important. Non-verbal communication accounts up to 40% of your proper message. So it is as important as your words, trust me. And content, you can get it from Google, right? But you cannot hire someone else's personality. That is your thing, so you have to work hard on it. You can hire people to do your ppts, but you cannot hire people to work on your personality. That is something you have to do by yourself, right? So how do we present ourselves in the most suitable manner in public? How do we do that? Let's see. Number one, have an assertive attitude to show that you are confident about what you are speaking. If you can't, then please fake it. Fake it for an hour. Pretend you're confident, but you cannot have anxiety issues. You cannot be um, you cannot be not confident about the topic that you are doing. You have to show confidence and assertive attitude so that people believe that what you're saying, you're very aware of what you're saying and you're very confident, right? Now, general excitement, because our pupils dilate naturally when you're excited about something or you're happy about something. Any body language expert or your HR will get it if you're faking your interest in the topic just by looking at your eyes. So if I look at someone's eyes, I will know whether the person is faking happiness or not. So in a presentation, you must be very excited about what you're talking, and it should come from within. So choose the topics which really interests you, or work on only those themes which really interests you, because if you're not excited, it will show by your pupils. Our pupils naturally dilate, and in presentation rooms, whether you will have full light and everything, during the rebuttal round, people will see whether you are faking it or not. So always have a general sense of excitement in you. um, Second would be maintain eye contact. Now, please avoid extended blinking. Now, what is extended blinking? That is basically closing your eyes while talking. Many people do that, right? They close their eyes and they talk. Now, it indicates that you're busy with your personal thoughts and not in the audience. And the moment audience feels that you're only by yourself thinking and lost in your thoughts, you will lose your audience. So if you have a habit of extended blinking, please avoid that. That is not good. You have to maintain eye contact. So prepare your speech. You can stand in front of the mirror and practice, but you have to maintain eye contact with your live audience. um, Now, Z formation for large audience. Now, this is also a strategy for public speaking. Z formation. Now, why do we use Z formation? Because as a speaker, it is not possible to maintain eye contact with everyone, because few audience might be nice, but many people might make faces. Just give me a moment. Now, many audience might make faces at you, and you don't know how to deal with it. Your confidence and your self esteem will go down in flames, right? So how do you deal with that? You use Z formation. When you are dealing with large audience, let's say 10, 15 people, you look at the last row, then you look diagonally, and then you look at the first row. That is a Z formation. The moment you do this, it creates an optical bias, or it creates an illusion that you are actually maintaining eye contact with everybody, but you are not. You are just looking at the last row, then diagonal, and then the first row. But everyone will get an impression that you have looked at everyone. And that is a strategy or key to maintain eye contact in public, because the moment you lose eye contact, for example, if I'm talking to you now and I'm looking here, you will not be connected to me. You will lose interest. You will probably put the phone aside. You'll be like, Ritika is looking somewhere else, right? So it is very important to maintain eye contact with people. um, Next point, spatial proximity. Now, what is spatial proximity? Distance between two people. Now, research has shown that in workspace, 1.2 meters to 3.6 meters, which is basically two arms distance, from every individual. Why? The moment you violate the personal spatial bubble, we all have our spatial bubble, right? We if some we all have our personal bubbles. If somebody comes this close to me, I'll get very intimidated, and I will not be very comfortable. Same way, every human being has their personal bubble, which is 1.2 meters to 3.6 meters. Always try to maintain distance from individuals, because the moment you violate their personal space, you lose their attention and you create a very disruptive tension, or you create a discomfort. The moment you go really near a person, it will make the person really uncomfortable. And that is something you don't want to do while presenting, because even if you lose one audience, that is a loss. So always maintain spatial proximity. You should know how much distance to maintain from each individual. Don't get too close to people at workspace. It might put you under a negative impression. Grab attention through an object. Now, why it is not always possible, and especially if you're not very expressive with your face, if your face doesn't really talk a lot, you have to have some other tools to capture attention of people. Now, what do? You either take a pen, or you either take, let's say, a stick to point it out to the screen, or you take an image or anything, an object in your hand, which will help you to get attention of people. The moment you play with your hand and the object, let's say a pen or anything, audience will be connected to you again, because not everyone is facially expressive and not everyone is very good with maintaining eye contact, right? So object really helps you to grab attention of people. Now, use culture specific emblems to interact. Like, for example, tell your audience from beforehand, thumbs up means all okay, all okay means this, let's say bad means this. So if they don't agree with you, they are constantly showing you gestures to interact in, because you cannot give every audience a chance to speak, right? If you're dealing with a larger audience, you might have just 10 minutes to present something. So that time, these culture specific emblems really help. Now, you have to be, why culture specific? You need to know that everyone in the group knows this means bad. not like few people know this is good and few people know this is good, right? So everyone should be in the same uh, should be on the same page and be interacting with you with the help of gestures. Now, use of illustrators. What are illustrators? Are basically nodding your head. If your audience has a concern, you address to them. If not verbally, you show them signs that or aha or hmm or oh, things like that. Oh, nodding your head. These mean nothing, but this will assure the person that you are paying attention to your audience, right? So if you don't have time to personally attend to every audience, at least show them that yes, you have understood or yes, you got it, right? So these kind of gestures really help in a presentation space. Now, no smile, only, I'm sorry, only smile, no pouting or pressing lips. Why? Okay, just give me a moment. So only smile, don't pout or don't press your lips like this. Why? Because it shows your underlying anxiety, and psychology has proven that when we are anxious, we either pout or we put our lips pursed or we press our lips. And the moment you do it, people will start judging you, and then there is no going back. Once your audience starts judging you, that oh my god, this person might be nervous, or oh my god, this person might not be really confident, you lose them immediately. So always have a polite smile and nothing else, no other um, lip movement. The last point would be on time. Why? Um, although we are polychronic culture, which is in India collectivistic society, and we all work according to our own time. However, um, we are all following monochromic culture. Now, what is monochromic culture? Basically, it has emerged from USA. In USA, people are very time specific. If it's 8 o'clock, it is 8 o'clock. If it's 7 o'clock, it is 7 o'clock. Not even 2 minutes here and there, right? So even now in corporate culture, we are following monochromics, right? Because of westernization and everything. So be mindful that you are responding to your emails on time, you are responding to your clients' doubts on time, and during your presentation, everything is timely. You do not take much extra time. Now, that is really contradictory because it's already 8:05 and I have not finished my module. But please be patient with me. All right. So the next point would be colors. Now, colors are really important from work culture perspective. Now, Rebecca Gross has found in her research that blue resembles peace and confidence. So if you're going for an interview, if you're going to give a presentation, then blue represents peace and confidence. Gray represents maturity and stability. White represents hope and cleanliness, and that's why doctors always wear white. Ironically, Indian politicians also wear white, but that's a different story altogether. So, white shows hope and cleanliness. Yellow resembles intellect, warmth, and friendliness. Now, wear the color depending on the impression you want to create. What impression you want to create to your audience? Whether you are a peaceful person, whether you are a confident person, whether you want to be seen as someone who's very friendly, depends on the color that you're wearing. Now, olfactics. What are olfactics? Olfactics are basically the way you smell or your body odor. Now, please, let's not judge anyone because um, it is culturally conditioned, right? So, for example, the way you smell or the way anybody smells, it gives us a impression of the person's hygiene, the person's health condition, and also the person's social status. So choose a smell that is appropriate for the group that you're dealing with. Definitely not too strong, but smell is a very subjective matter. So you have to choose what smell you want to go with. Just remember, the way you smell gives people an impression of your hygiene, of your health, and also your social status. So you have to smell accordingly if you're trying to reach out to a group. The next point would be workplace gaze. Okay, now before we do this, I'd like to attend to certain questions because I have done a lot of talking. Let's see what are the questions. Any responses? Guys, please put your responses now so that we can have a quick talking session. Okay, Toko is saying how to be impactful and catch attention while giving a formal speech. So you can use stories, you can use punchlines, you can use live examples that this company has done this, why can't we do this, and so on. So you can make it catchy, and it requires training. It requires a little bit of training also. If you can train yourself, great job, or else you can seek out to a professional. Siddhant, isn't it good to make people understand more than using formal language and people understand less? Okay, Siddhant, we are here working with the common assumption that we all are at our workspace. And in workspace, you have to learn formal communication because it is important, especially now in globalized place. No company is only dealing with Indians. You will always have international clients. You will always have people from abroad. And not everyone will understand casual language. Apart from US, as I mentioned earlier, apart from US, no country really likes informal communication at workspace. So why not making yourself global? There is no harm in using formal language. You will become a more global person and deal with people from any culture. Please share the PPT with us after this session. Siddhant, I am not sure. You have to coordinate with the team, book my session live. Why do some politicians? Yes, so for that you have to go undergo training, which is speech therapy. You have to undergo persuasive communication, and in University of Edinburgh they charge you 20 lakhs in Indian currency just to learn how to persuade people. So trust me, politicians do a lot of those things to influence people. They use certain language which affects the mass. They use punchlines. They make their own taglines. Achhe din aane wale hai, and so on, to attract people. So this requires a lot of training. So if you can work on yourself, great. Or else a professional will help you to actually be persuasive. Okay. Any more questions? I will take 10 more minutes. Are you guys with me? Can I get a thumbs up or something? Or you all are getting bored and lost? Okay, I have only gotten one response from Delphin and Nisha, but two people don't account for 28 people. Can I at least get five responses? Or else I will only know that Nisha and Delphin are interested. Okay, great. Good job. Let's move on to the next part. The next part would be, okay, I've got enough responses. Thank you, guys. Okay, now the next part would be workplace gains. This is very, very important, and especially in India, trust me, nobody knows about it, and it's really frustrating. Even corporate executives don't really know about it, and it becomes extremely unprofessional when you have a wrong gaze just because of cultural differences, right? So it becomes slightly uncomfortable, especially if you're a female employee, if people are looking at you in a different way. So, what is the appropriate workplace gaze? Follow an upward triangle. Now, as you can see here, Just give me a moment. As you can see here, this is called a business gaze, right? So, what do you mean by business gaze? Business gaze is basically an upward, okay. Thank you so much, Nisha. Okay. I will keep all the responses for later. Now, what do you mean by workspace gaze? Follow an upward triangle pattern. Now, what do you mean by upward triangle pattern? Which is nose to eyes to forehead. It goes like this, okay? Um, if you can't maintain that, just remember you are not allowed to look below the neckline. Your gaze stops here. If the best option would actually be to look only nose, eyes, and forehead, you do not go to lips of a person in a professional space. If you can't do that, because a lot of people just look around and talk, especially extroverts, if you can't do that, please remember you are not allowed to look below the neckline. People don't get it. Even corporate executives find it really amusing that why can't we look at the entire part, right? But you cannot. This is professional etiquette. You do not look at people below their neckline. That is none of your concern. If it's your personal relationship, you can check them out all the entire body, but with your colleagues, with your professional people, you cannot afford to do that. Now, it gets really unprofessional. So just remember the business gaze. This is the social gaze. Intimate gaze is basically what you do with your partners, your friends, and so on. So, business gaze is basically you look into the eye of a person and the forehead area or maximum nose. If you can't manage that, you can come till the entire face, but don't go beyond that. No neck, no other part of the body. Don't look, it is really offensive. And if you're dealing with UK people, they are very particular about gaze. Even Australians are very particular about it. So if you give them unprofessional look, you might even get kicked out of your job. They are that particular. So just be mindful about it. Olfactics meaning smell or the body odor. Olfactics, basically the smell and the body odor that you carry, which gives people an impression of your hygiene, health, and social status. Now, um, the next one. The next one is really important, which is handshakes. Now, there is a story behind it. Listen. So, dominant handshakes were first documented by Navarro in 1980s, where it was observed that there is always a power struggle at work, and people are constantly trying to put each other down. Now, how do you put each other down? By providing dominant handshakes. Now, if a person is extending his or her hand to you like this, then you are forced to put your hand like this for a handshake, right? Let's say it's going two ways. I am putting my hand like this. You are forced to put your hand down, right? To give a proper handshake. Now, this is common in all work culture. You will find people who are trying to use dominant handshakes. Perhaps they are narcissists, or perhaps they just want to look down upon you. Be careful of that. Do not accept subservient attitude. If a person is dominant, if it's a CEO, that's a different matter altogether. CEOs can be dominant to you, but if you're dealing with your colleagues and they are doing this, please do not accept it. This is unprofessional. What do? You try to neutralize the handshake. How do you neutralize the handshake? Um, so, for example, let's say a person has extended his or her hand at you like this. What do? You put your left foot forward, and you tilt your body like this. The moment you tilt your body and then you extend a hand like this, the person has to change, or the person has to shift and not put your hand like this, but the person has to give an equal handshake. Always try to neutralize handshakes, because the moment you accept dominance from a person through non-verbal gestures, it is it becomes very relevant that you are subservient, and you are no way subservient. We all are equal when we are working together, right? So if a person, and if you are the person who has a habit of giving dominating handshakes, please check yourself. Do not do that, because you are trying to demean other person, and that is not a good thing to do at work. Now let's see how does it work. Now, can you see here how this guy is extending his hand to Obama? This is exactly what a dominant handshake is, and Obama is forced to put his hand downwards, which is called a dominant handshake. What do? You neutralize the handshake by extending your hand straight. You do not put your hand down, but you extend it straight. So the person is forced to give you an equality handshake. This is called equality handshake, whereby two people are equals and they are shaking their hands. So during a presentation, after the presentation is over, you would have to, let's say, shake hands with people to say thank you for coming or thank you for attending. Check whether you are the person who's trying to dominate others, or you are the person whom others are trying to dominate you. No matter what the case is, always neutralize handshakes and make it equal. Equality handshake. Can you see both the hands? Both the hands are straight. That means both the individuals are equal. The moment you accept this, or the moment you are the person you do this, problem arises, and it will not be very, let's say, evident at the moment, but it will reflect your personality. You will end up being submissive at your workspace, or if you are the dominant person, you will end up being a really dominant person. And that in no way you are good. You should not be dominant, you should not be very submissive as well. You must treat everyone equal. So, this is the thing about handshakes. Now, any responses? Intimate gaze meaning. Ankita, intimate gaze is basically when, let's say, if you and I are friends, I have the liberty, or I have the audacity of looking at your entire body, right? That would be intimate gaze. That is, I am allowed to look at your other parts. But when you are working professionally, your eye should not go down below the neckline. So that is workspace or business gaze. Social gaze would be till here would be social gaze, where you just look at the person's face. Business gaze would not even cover the lips, it will only stay up. You only look at the eyes, no other part of the body. If you can't do that, at least try to maintain social gaze. Um, Suresh, yes, that means Obama was submissive with that particular scenario. Yes. Can you explain the two handshakes in the video? Yes. So in the picture, yes. So this is called dominant handshake, where yes, I found out that I'm very dominating. How can I be less dominating and lighten up the conversation? Okay, so if you're a dominant person, try to see everyone from equal space. Listen to people. It might work out, because first step towards being dominating is self acceptance. So you have already crossed the first stage. That is, you have accepted that this is a problem with me. The moment you have acknowledged that this is a problem with me, it will not be very difficult for you. So, Toko, don't worry about that. Now, yes, Devdeep, I will attend your question. So this is called dominant handshake, where you can see a person is putting, extending hands like this. So you are forced to put your hand below in order to shake hands, right? Now, how do you overcome that? You put your left foot forward, you tilt, whether you are standing or sitting, and you extend straight hand. The moment you extend straight hand, a person is forced to give you a handshake of equality. Can you see both the hands are straight? That means both the persons are thinking that they are equal to each other. Both are equal. But here, this guy is trying to dominate Obama, and Obama has certainly taken up the role of submissive. Yes. All right. Any other questions? So I will just talk about my course now. Okay, wonderful. Allow me a moment. Okay. Now, if you keep all of these things in mind, I don't think you will ever have a problem with delivering a successful presentation. Trust me, although this was for beginners module, but this will really help you in all aspects of life. Now, my courses include personality development training, master presentation, interview skills, spoken English courses, including speech therapy and functional grammar. I also work with grammar and the grammar that we are required to use while writing, not like textbook and school type boring grammar, and professional communication, which will help you to, let's say, work, and which will help you to be a global citizen. So I deal with American English and British English also, because most of the countries use only American and British English. I provide one-on-one live classes and also group sessions. So if you're interested, or if you want to know more about these things, please feel free to drop um, a mail at ritika.coach@gmail.com. And all the modules are usually customized based on your personal requirements and what you want. And there will be a lot of activities and industrial exposure to make your learning more fun. Now, I also include specific psychology interventions, speech and language training, how you can pronounce proper words, because Indians have a lot of problem with phonetics. I also use expressive art therapy, which will actually help you to enjoy learning and have fun during the classes. Although I could not conduct any today because of the short span of time. However, I do that all in my classes. And thank you so much for your time and attention. Now, any query? I'll stop sharing my screen. Yes. Any query, any doubts? I will attend for a few minutes. No questions? Where can we get the recordings? I am not very sure. You have to contact the company for that. Bookmysession.live. So please contact the company through LinkedIn. Any one-on-one? Yes, there are modules on one-on-one personality development. So you can drop a mail to ritika.coach@gmail.com and my team will get in touch with you. Any other query? I hope you all enjoy today's session. Yes, please fill this form for participation certificate. You are getting class tomorrow, Ankita. I am so sorry. Today is my first and last session for free. So I guess you have to contact my team in case we come up with other workshops or webinars. You can join, or if you're interested in other things, you can also there. And please fill the form for participation certificate. It's right there. So you will also get a certificate for participating in this workshop of personality development. Any other query? No query. I have made you people understand so well. No questions at all. That's quite surprising now. Are you all lazy or really no questions? How to give effective video. Thank you so much, Toko. It really means a lot. Compliments from people like you. Okay, now Sachin, you are asking me how to give effective video. Now, video is comparatively easier because you do not have to deal with live audience. So you can prepare beforehand in front of the mirror. Trust me, every public speaker practices in front of the mirror. I have done it multiple times before starting my profession. So start speaking in front of the mirror. You will get to see how your facial expressions are, how you are actually talking, or record your voice to if you have problem with pronunciation or grammar or underlying anxiety, record your voice. You can train yourself like that or get any professional help who will help you with certain strategies, how to help with your speech or making videos. I hope I have answered that question. Anything else?
Ritika, hi, I have a question.
Yes.
Basically, in terms of presentation skills, right? The biggest challenge that we all are facing currently is like engaging the audiences in the virtual platform. So, if you could just throw some light on that, it would be of great help. How to
Yes.
build a lot of engagement with the audience.
Okay, so Manas, thank you so much for the question. That's really interesting, especially everything is online today. You can use a lot of ice-breaking platforms like Padlet. I'll just type it out for you, Manish. Padlet is nice where you can ask your audience to respond there, or there is one called Peer Deck by Google. So you can use these kind of platforms to create ice breaking sessions, and at the same time you can share anecdotes, or you can ask a lot of rhetorical questions like give thumbs up, give yes, give no. You can also use whiteboards to put pictures. That's a feature in Google as well, where you can use whiteboard to get attention. And online, it becomes easier to help people interact because videos and everything is there. So use all these platforms. I hope that might help.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Ritika.
You're most welcome. Any other query? No query? Then I think we will end the session. Thank you so much, Smita. Just allow me a moment. I'll ask the team. I believe you all may leave. Yes. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and you may leave now. Thank you, Manas.